Hello everyone, CS Word here, and let's go ahead and get started with my furnace rate tutorial. So we'll have a row of furnaces that will be a total of 54 long. I'm going to make it shorter for the tutorial here. Alright, and now we will have a hopper on the top and side. I'm placing the one on the side where we can see if items are being smelted for the furnace there. And now we're going to go 2 blocks back from the top hopper, place a comparator on top of that, and a dropper in front of that, and we will have a dropper line like so. And then on the very last one, we can just place a hopper facing down. Same thing with the fuel line, hopper facing down. And I'm just going to make this a dropper line, or hopper line going back like so. Alright, I'll talk about the fuel more in just a moment. Okay, and now in front of the comparator, we'll go 1 block down and have a sticky piston facing up with an observer pointing out on top of that. And on top of the comparator, a observer pointing in. And then we'll have a dropper chain, or observer chain, on top of the droppers there, with a block on top of the last one because you don't need another observer there. Alright, and now on the back side here, we will have a line of observers like so, 2 back for each furnace. You can make the second observer a repeater or comparator alternatively, and you do not need anything on the very last one, as that's just a overflow protection. Okay, and now from here, we will just have a row of solid blocks like so, sticky pistons on top of those facing inward, and a block of redstone in front of each of those. Okay, so the way this works is you can feed items into your input dropper here with either 2 hoppers on each side to keep up with dropper speed, or just have another dropper chain going into it. It doesn't matter. Alright, and what that's going to do is anytime there are items in there, the piston here will extend and create an observer clock, and then items will be sent along because of the observer chain up top. Alright, and then when an item gets inside of the furnace here, it will change state. And so what that's going to do is it will then send the signal through, and the piston will 0 tick and push the block of redstone to lock the hopper, not allowing any more items through. Alright, so in terms of a collection system, I highly recommend just using a hopper minecart, but if you insist on using a dropper method, then on the second observer here in the back, we'll go, or repeater, we'll go down 1 block with an observer, and then into a block, and then place another repeater or observer right there. And so when the furnace finishes smelting an item, it will send the signal down, or send the item down, and then a signal will be sent through, and then the item will dispense just after it gets put in. Alright, and so from here, I think I'll talk about the fuel. The fuel in this case, you should use an item that will immediately turn off once it gets done smelting. So sticks or bamboo are perfect because it takes exactly 2 sticks or 4 bamboo in order to smelt 1 item. And if this is dependent upon the furnace changing states, then having an item like coal in there means that 1 item will pass through, the system will lock, and then no more items are passing through because the furnace is still on, although no more items are being smelted until it gets done burning. In other words, that's 7 items lost in fuel and a whole lot of inefficiency there. Carpet is another option, however, because it's weird, like 3.35 items per carpet, it's weird math. Anyway, in terms of the fuel line, this is just a hopper line. It will not be able to keep up if you have a really big smelt going on, in which case you would need another waterway, or in KK and Alasia's case, another dropper chain, which could work, but I chose just to do a simple hopper line like this. Alright, so it was pointed out to me by Borbarab13 that you could just have a simple waterway to distribute items much more evenly or quickly. Alright, so here I have just a single hopper, and here I have a double to simulate if you're doing into a dropper speed. Okay, so let me go ahead and pick up this barrel full of sticks, do a counter reset, and break the sticks. So what we're going to see is that the hoppers here are able to pick up stacks of items at a time, which is a lot more easy than just having a whole bunch of hopper minecarts and hoppers everywhere. However, this does come at a slight cost, where the efficiency of this is not going to be nearly as good, as I'll show in just a bit, but you also have the possibility of items despawning from being circled around and around over time, or then creating a whole bunch of lag from being an entity form. And there's the rare chance that a zombie could come in and just pick up your items, and then you're down a stack and have a zombie to deal with. So let's go ahead and run the counter command now. Let's see if it's up to speed. Yeah, so this one, on the yellow, we are getting 8,500 items per hour, and on the green one, we're getting roughly double that. So this is not nearly as efficient as just a straight up hopper or dropper line, in which case we get an even 9,000, as I showed last week, or 18,000 for the dropper. So yeah, this is not nearly as good, but it's a much easier way of distributing items if you don't want to go with something too complicated. Alright, now something else from last week is that the hopper minecart actually has a item limit of 320. And that's 80% of the needed 400 for the perfected Tango Tech or piston bolt designs that I was thinking of. In other words, we'd only get 115,000 items per hour instead of that 144,000 items per hour. Now Beast's 1280 furnace array is just 4 modules of that 320. And so that 460,000 items he gets is really just 4 times that 115,000. And so it's just more modules, but yeah, he is using that 320 item limit of the hopper minecart. And so in order to remedy this, we can either stagnate our hopper minecarts to go off at weirder intervals, because if you go at just a simple hopper minecart speed, or pull speed, it has 20 items per second. Over 10 seconds smelt, that's going to give you 200 items in it, which is only half the efficiency needed, and will give you 72,000 items per hour. Now all of these things can be fixed and improved upon by using a chest minecart and having a dropper loader, or using a weird combination. So right here, what I've done is I have 4 droppers on each side, a minecart going a slight diagonal there, and it's being held in place by this just trapdoor. It's pretty simple. And the way we fuel the ones on the bottom here, input items, is by having a instant dropper line like so. We fuel and we supply all of the droppers on the top and side, top and side, top and side, and then right here I was figuring, well, maybe we could also have a chest input right there so that the hopper minecart could do its thing of pulling 20 items per second and saving us some of the hassle. So that would be 20 plus, in this case, 20 plus, in that case, 20, that's 60, and then plus 5 more on top. That would be 65 items per second, which is more than enough needed in order to work with the diagonal piston bolt that I was thinking of. However, this probably won't work to have a chest here, and so you'd have, again, then just 10 droppers at dropper speed. That's only going to give you 50 items per second. So yeah, there's definitely a limitation there. So if we wanted to, we can take a look at what Ilmango has already done and use a design like this, where we have 4 droppers on each side, 4 sides, and then that will be able to supply it at 80 items per second. Now, again, using the same design I had as over there to resupply the droppers here, the real issue is once you figure out a way to put the minecart in here so that it's over all 4 blocks so that all the droppers can work with it. It has to be on half slabs though, so that the bottom and top droppers can both work simultaneously with it. You then have to move the platform that the minecart's on back, down, back, and then double back in order for it to pass through. And then, reset it. So it is an option. However, at this point, you got to realize that all of these were just working back to using dropper speed. In which case, the simpler designs where we have a locking mechanism, or we're just using a simple hopper line to fuel everything, is just going to be probably more efficient in this case than having a convoluted setup like these. Anyway, that's all something to consider, and that's all I have for today. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.